recording, and here we go. Welcome everyone to the Thursday night sales clinic. What we've been looking at the past 2 weeks is knowing yourself, knowing your niche. So really knowing the value of your offering, your service, your products, and knowing how you impact a client's life or business now. So that's what we've been sort of looking at. And then last week we looked at knowing your ideal customer profile, your niche, your who you like to work with, and we looked at some niche case studies, and also showed a video or played a video. You can't watch. I don't think you can see the video, but you can hear it. So we looked at that, and we also looked at warming up the sales call as well. We're going to be looking at developing a sales action plan, looking at the idea of selling as a good conversation, helping you overcome the fear of selling. We'll do that a little bit tonight. Asking really good questions, which is really a critical piece to sales success, is your ability to ask your clients or prospects very compelling questions, so you get ideas and information flowing, and you get a clear understanding of what it is you have to do in order to serve your client to the best of your ability. You got to know what's going on for them, how you can help them, what some of the challenges are, and also really be able to develop a product or service offering that's going to assist your client and get the results that they want from you. And it'll also help you get that business, right? Welcome, Angelique, and again, Jason. We'll also look at don't give up, stay in touch. That'll be next week, and the importance of developing ongoing relationships. So let's get started. This week we're looking at, week 3, getting clients. So one of the things you have to do in sales is you got to prospect a little bit, right? So you're going to have to get out there and network or speak or use your social media platforms to connect to clients. You might have to do a little bit of cold calling. I'm not against that. A lot of experts in the sales field are kind of dissing cold calling, that they're not effective. I think they still are, but you have to be more strategic in your approach. My other feeling on cold calling is don't do more than an hour a day because you'll start to hate it, right? You'll meet with rejection. You need to network, join networking groups where you're meeting new prospective clients. And you've got to talk it up to business owners, whatever way you can. You might want to write, you might want to speak, you might want to go, use Facebook Live. You might want to, do something like this, hold a podcast or, a webinar for your clients so you can educate them as to how you work and what you provide for them, right? So a number of ways to get clients. It doesn't all have to resort around the old cold call, getting on the phone, or dialing for dollars, as we used to call it back in the day. So how can you warm up the prospecting process, the selling process? Can anyone think of 5 ways that you can warm up the selling process where perhaps you don't have to do these cold calls? How can you warm up the selling process? Any ideas? Write them down. I can unmute you. I'll unmute you a little bit. Watch the background. Whoa. If you want to mute yourself or you want to write down your answers, can you think of 5 ways to warm up the selling process? Nora, thanks. Jason? Oh, we got a shy group tonight. I'll share. I've got 5 ways, but maybe you've got more. Definitely you need a networking plan, where you're networking strategically to meet, new prospective clients, and you're forming and developing business relationships. And also looking, when you do network, that if you do form good relationships, they might not be your clients, but perhaps they can refer business to you, right? So you want to network strategically. I'm a big believer of networking to get business, but also networking to learn and to also have some fun. You got to have a little fun, right? So, with meetup.com, they list a number of networking groups you can join. There's definitely groups there that are fun to be members of and to join, right? Another thing, if you don't mind speaking, is to learn to lead seminars and or speak at events. A lot of these networking groups we just talked about, they're always looking for someone to share their story or speak or teach their members. That's a great way for you to pick up new business. Write. Look for opportunities where you can write. If you like to write about your business and how your business works, look for opportunities to write. So that could be online publications. It could be somebody else's blog. It could be some magazines as well, right? So it could be trade associations. Maybe they're looking for content providers. Another really good way to build your client base and grow your your list of clients is to ask for referrals. So be out there asking for referrals. My kind of philosophy on asking for referrals is don't ask somebody that you've never done business with for a referral. Ask people that you have helped. And when you ask in this kind of way, like say, hey Joe, do you remember when, we first met and you had that challenge and we helped you overcome it? Do you know anybody else in your list of business owners or contacts or associates that might benefit from the work we did with you? Do you know anybody else that might appreciate the level of service or the products we provided? So ask your current client base for referrals. The other place to ask for referrals is with people you know, right? Like maybe like your friends, your family, your business associates. Just let them know, like, hey, like this is what we're up to. We're launching a new business, or we're developing something new, or we're going to have a new service coming out. Who do you know that might benefit from what it is we do? So ask people because usually they like you, right? It's your friends. It could be your family. It could be people you do business with. Let them know you're out there and ask for referrals. I'd even go so far as to, on your email signature, have like a little line on the email signature that says, we love referrals. We even reward for referrals. Don't keep our name a secret. We this is we love the work we do, and we like to do it with more people. Something like that, right? You might want to even have a reward program for referrals, where if somebody sends you one referral, maybe they get a gift card. If they send you 5, maybe they get a nice gift card to see the movies. If they send you 10, maybe it's a dinner and a movie, that kind of thing, right? So be sure to be asking for referrals. Also, be really good at what you do so that people start to talk it up. That's kind of nice, right? Be so outstanding that you get great word of mouth. Seth Godin, marketing expert, author of a number of books, but The Purple Cow is one of them, suggests that you want to be remarkable, right? You want to be so good that people will be able to remark about you. Remarkable. So, be really good at your craft or your field and deliver really good value and deliver a great experience for your clients. And then the other thing, too, is start to get into the mindset of positioning yourself as an expert in your industry or the niche you want to work in. But position yourself as an expert, which means you're going to talk about how the service or product you provide helps people. You're going to write about it. You're going to get yourself perhaps on media to do interviews and talk about how you assist the people you work with. Any questions so far? And also you want to use your social media more strategically. I don't know about you, but when I'm on Facebook or social media, it can be a bit of a time suck, right? Because I'm kind of having fun and playing like trivia crack these days, or Scrabble or whatever with my friends. But I got to step back from that and use my social media a lot more strategically. All right, I hope you're all engaged still and learning. And it's a quiet group. Don't forget you can write questions and I'll definitely answer them as we go along. So let's talk about social media here for a sec, because it's changing the game of selling, and you've got to get on board with it. As social selling, it's called social selling. So you're using your social media channels to penetrate the sales leader's mindset. Questions around applicability remain unanswered. So social selling chatter is highly focused on the top of the funnel activity to spark new dialogue and conversations with prospects in the market. So we talked about the idea of you've got to get clients, you've got to get prospects, and one of the ways to do it is to master social media. And that's the term is called social selling, right? So you want, when we say be more strategic, use your YouTube channel, have educational videos every week, perhaps coming out for a minute or two. Post them on Facebook. Have a YouTube channel and connect it with your website. Use your LinkedIn to post articles or things of information in and around what it is you do to attract people to your LinkedIn page, right? The other thing is to use your LinkedIn groups strategically. I post my articles that I write on LinkedIn in my groups. Then what I do is I take that article and then I post that on my blog, and then once I have it on my blog, I post it on Facebook. I post my weekly success article in the groups that I'm involved with on Facebook. I post it on Twitter. So I'm getting information and ideas and ways to help my clients out in my social media platforms, right? So the implications for social selling are really becoming more profound and more meaningful. And I'll tell you why. Building rapport with prospects is routinely tied to the success of business transactions. So the challenge is that it's an important skill. It's hardly taught. People don't teach you really how to engage with your clients on using social selling. So you've got to look at the dramatic changes that are taking place in buying behavior, in how we consume content. Social media it's a platform where you can share content and ideas and have discussions. It can help you build rapport. As a matter of fact, studies actually show that 92% of all executives delete emails and voicemails right away. So what's left? How else can you connect with them? If they're doing that, it's going to be really hard for you to penetrate to get yourself in the door or get that sales meeting and get into that office to see your ideal client if they're deleting emails and voicemails. It can be really hard, so you have to think of other ways to do it. And other ways to do it is using your social media platforms. So rapport building naturally leads to the organic creation of relationships. So, start to use social selling to develop relationships, to educate your buyer, to add value with the content that you're doing and creating. Also, relationships, of course, are inherently solidified through the value of what you offer. So make sure your content does have value. Make sure what you're saying is of value to someone else. So sales leaders can rejoice in the fact that 74% of the time, buyers will choose sales professionals that were first to add value. So you want to be able to add value to your customers or prospects table. Another couple quotes, 91% of market leaders believe that in 2 years they'll be competing primarily on the basis of customer experience. So social media is a great tool to showcase how good you are at customer experience. So poor customer experience is more than bad customer service. It also includes unplanned and unmanaged account management, which when we say unmanaged and unplanned account management, it means you're not following up and nurturing the relationship with your buyers once they buy. So what's the applications of social media selling in this area? Quite simply, you want to tap into champions and mobilizers, people that are the decision makers. The more you can tap into decision makers, the likelihood that churn, and by churn what we mean is that they won't delete your messages. That's going to decrease, right? Because why? You're tapping into the key decision makers. So social selling, hot topic right now, right? Here's the takeaways. Really think of the content and the message that you're getting out there. Make sure the content and the message is creative. Vary it up. Use different channels. Write, do video, do podcasts, do Facebook Live, hold webinars. Make sure what it is you're doing using your social media is informing, it's educating, it's sharing ideas, it is showcasing your knowledge and your talents and your skills and the quality and the value of what it is you do. Any questions at all on that? All right, let's get to it. Time to set some goals. So social media. I'm just going to go back a sec. Hang on. Bear with me. Yeah, time to set some goals. So warming up the prospecting process, like using your social media, networking, writing, doing speaking opportunities, getting yourself interviewed on the media. What that does is it gives you credibility in the front of your prospects or clients, right? The other thing it does is that when you do have to make a call to a prospect or a client, what they already know you, right? They've seen your information flow on social media. They've got a relationship with you. And what that does is it takes the fear away from going in cold. There's nothing, kind of scarier than calling somebody you've never spoken to before and then worrying that you're going to flub it, right? So the other thing too that, by using your social media or speaking or writing or, hosting webinars or doing a seminar or whatever for your clients, is it builds trust. So trust is already present. So when you do make a call, when you do connect with that buyer or prospect live for that first time, they already have a feeling of who you are and what you can bring. So you don't have to sell so hard. It's now a time to sort of nurture that relationship along, to find out more about the prospective buyer and client and see where the opportunities are for both of you to work together. So there's a lot less sales stress when you look at warming up the prospecting process. So one of the things I'd like you to take a moment to do is get clear as to what your goals are for the rest of the year. How many calls do you think you're up to making a day? How many good face-to-face meetings do you want per week? I used to aim for 10 meetings a week, and if I got out of those 10 meetings, I usually would close about half. So, I could get 5 deals a week. That is pretty darn good. I'm telling you, if any of you got 5 deals a week, you're probably going to be going, oh my God, I can't handle it. I got to hire somebody, right? So get clear as to how many deals you want to close every week. What's that goal? How much money do you want to make every month? Have you done your cash flow forecast? Cash flow forecast is like a budget for your family, but it's a budget for your business, right? What do you think you're going to earn over the next, what do you think you're going to earn over the next, next month, the next 2 months, the next 3, the next 6, the next 9 and 12? What do you think you want to earn? What's your goal? What are your expenses going to be, right? So get clear as to what some of these sales goals are. Are you aware of trends and seasonality factors affecting your sales? What new initiatives will you look into? That should be in 2017. So maybe you're going to look in, to develop something new, right? Something new and exciting, a new product launch, a new service launch. Perhaps you're going to do perhaps a joint venture with somebody else. So, it's a good time of year as we enter into a new quarter, right? We're in spring now. As we enter into a new quarter, it's a good time of year to do a little bit of planning and a little bit of goal setting. So remember, goals are just dreams with a deadline. right? So you're dreaming, right? You're like, yeah, I want to sell $10,000 this year, right? By when? Oh, by September. So goals are dreams with a deadline. So again, get clear as to how many calls, contacts you think it's going to take to get an appointment. How many calls and contacts do most small business owners stop at? Studies show that it takes about 9 to 12 calls or contacts with a client or a prospect before you get the deal. So a lot of small business owners stop at 4, right? They just stop. Why? Because it's the rejection. Oh, they don't call me. They're not calling me back. They just said no. That's it. I stop, right? So my rule of thumb is don't stop, because nobody told you to stop except for you. And watch the story when you're prospecting or you're out meeting clients and you're not getting a lot of, positive response. Ask, hey, Joe, what do we have to do to get your business? Or, where are we missing, right? What would you like to see from us? When might you be interested in buying? So, talk to your client. Watch that mental chatter you have when you're out prospecting, selling, making a prospecting call. You're going to meet a lot of rejections. So you just got to watch that mental chatter so that it doesn't keep you away from going forward and promoting yourself and pitching and meeting new people. Don't stop until, I always say, don't stop until you get a cease and desist letter from a lawyer or you get thrown out the window. That's my rule of thumb. So I'm going to play an audio clip, and this is on goal setting and the importance of overcoming your mental chatter. So I hope you can all hear this. This is a woman by the name of Mel Robbins. If you're shopping for books this weekend, go to Chapters or Indigo and pick up The 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins. Here she's talking about the 5-second rule, that if we don't act on an idea or an impulse within 5 seconds, chances are we won't accomplish that goal or initiative. And this is a audio clip. It's about 3 minutes long, and it's part of an interview she did with Darren Hardy, who's the publisher and head of Success Magazine. So Success Magazine is definitely a magazine I would look into subscribing to. Again, you can get it at Indigo and Chapters. That's where I tend to find it. You wouldn't find it at a normal sort of convenience store or drugstore magazine selection. Definitely at Chapters or Indigo. It's called Success Magazine, and you can also subscribe to or look at some of the articles in Success Magazine online. So within each copy of Success Magazine is a CD, and in that CD there's interviews with some of the best minds in business and in industry today. And here's a chat Darren Hardy did with Mel Robbins about goal setting and breaking through your thinking patterns. Enjoy. It's 3 minutes. Here goes.
So, Mel, I love this quote from your book. Each time you push through, you're making a long-term investment in yourself. Talk to us about that for a minute, because this is the reward on the end of the other side of the line by doing the hard work of taking that action in the 5 seconds, going against what your brain is telling you. So talk to us about the long-term benefits of all this.
You got it. Because the one takeaway, Darren, from all the research that I've done and all the science that's in the book is that if you want to change anything about your life, just do the things that you don't feel like doing. It really does boil down to that. You're never going to feel like doing the things you need to do to have what you want. Your mind isn't wired that way. It will try to make you feel like things are too big. It'll try to make you feel like things are too scary. It'll try to make you feel like now's not the time. And so if you push through those feelings and take action even though you don't feel like it, you'll have everything. The compound effect that you write about, Darren, will start to take hold. This whole book is about tricking people into how to take action. That's what this is about. And so, the thing about that rule that's very important, Darren, is that over time, you've built a muscle to not listen to yourself. You've built the muscle of taking anti-actions, actions like surfing the web instead of making cold calls, actions like watching TV instead of doing research, actions like sitting around and putting stuff in your Twitter account that's nonsense, in your Twitter account that's nonsense, instead of getting your butt out the door and going off and networking with people that might potentially help you with the business you want to launch. You've filled your schedule with so much stuff that isn't important that it's squeezed all the time out of your schedule, so now you have a convenient excuse of not doing anything, and the excuse of that you don't have any time. And so I think it's really important that what you realize about your life is that you're never going to feel like it. And if you start to push forward and take action anyway, it's like any other muscle. Over time, you slowly start building the muscle of taking action. You start building the muscle of not listening to your own crud. You start building the muscle of ignoring what your mind is telling you and operating from your desires instead of your fears. You start building the muscle of acting strategically instead of acting emotionally. And you can retrain your brain. Absolutely. After a month of waking up and not hitting the snooze alarm, do you think it's going to be hard or easy? It's going to be easy. And the reason why is because by doing it every morning, you've made a long-term investment in yourself. You've built muscles that make you powerful and successful instead of maintaining the ones that keep you stuck.
So, here's the deal. We get stopped sometimes, right? Sales isn't easy. You're going to face a lot of rejection. You're going to hear a lot of no's. Yeah, and that doesn't feel so good, right? But I really can't emphasize enough not to get stopped by that, to look at the no and ask to probe the no, ask to find out why it's a no. And your customer might tell you that maybe they just can't afford it right now. Maybe they just don't have a need. Maybe it's a timing issue. Maybe, they're working with somebody else that they're happy with, right? So what you want to do in business is stay in touch with that client or prospect until such time that they're perhaps ready to buy, until such time that they have the budget, until such time that they might be open to looking at an alternative supplier, right? Maybe their current supplier, who they're happy with, which is good, can't deliver, right? That's always a possibility. Maybe they went out of business, God forbid, right? So your goal in sales, don't get stopped. When you hear no, it's just no for now. It's not no forever, right? So keep going. Keep nurturing that relationship with that client until such time that they're ready to buy. And there's a methodology that I really encourage you to use if your negative self-talk comes in the way. Because I know personally in my sales career, I'll start to get like, if I meet with a lot of rejection, I got to look and wonder, first of all, maybe it's my messaging. I got to work on that. Maybe I got to change up my methodology. So maybe just by doing one thing to develop my business and get prospects might not be working. Maybe I got to change both the messaging and the tactic, the marketing and sales tactic that I'm using to generate leads. Maybe I got to change something up. But you also have to start to guard against the negative thinking, because it's going to come up. Your little negative voice, if you get a lot of rejection, a lot of no, it's going to tell you to stop, right? It's going to tell you not only to stop, but maybe you chose the wrong career. It could be really quite negative, that little inner voice, right? And what that inner voice is really trying to do is protect you. It's trying to keep you safe from hurt and anguish. And let's face it, getting rejected on a prospecting call or by a client, or when you've just done your first pitch and you came in second and they gave the business to somebody else, that's not easy to to take. You know, sometimes it really does sting. So one of the things, if you have negative thinking about the rejection to a point where it's sabotaging you and it's limiting you, always ask yourself about negative thoughts, negative feelings, negative emotions. Is that thought true? So let's say your client or prospect just said, no, we're not going to buy from you, right? And, you know, they're really, really not very nice to deal with, right? And you're going, oh my God, that guy's an idiot, and maybe, you know, maybe my business is the wrong business or whatever, and, you know, all these negative thoughts come to you. Always ask, is it true? Can you absolutely know that it's true? Is that guy always an idiot? Was he just an idiot that day? Maybe he had something bad happen on the way to work, right? How do you react? What happens when you believe that thought, that that guy's an idiot, or you picked the wrong business, or, you know, it'll never work, or I don't know when I'll get a sale, right? Whenever you have a negative thought, is it true? Can you absolutely know that it's true? How to react? What happens when you believe that thought? And then, who would you be without that thought, right? What if that guy was just having a bad day? What if, you know, somebody crashed into him on the way to work and he's an hour and a half late and his boss is on him, right? So that's possible too. It might not have anything to do with you. It could just be, you know, that guy's having a bad day. Or, you know, if you're negative about your, you know, your beliefs about your business, who would you be without that thought, right? So let go of the thoughts and the judgments that you put not only in yourself, but on your customers, and the judgments around rejection, right? When you get rejected in the sales process, let it go. It's all right. Keep going. Do it in a way that's, you know, you're mindful of it, that's respectful of yourself and also respectful of the client. So ways to overcome the doubt and fear that creeps up when we're selling is, you know, first of all, get an accountability partner. Get a buddy that you can call once a week or once every other week and exchange ideas, right? Hey, this is what I'm going through. This is what I'm going to create. This is what I'm up to. Get somebody in your life that you can talk to openly and freely about your business, someone that gets being in business, because sometimes our spouses or significant others don't get what it's like to be in business. Get an accountability partner. Make selling a fun project. Set some wild, hairy goals and just go for it, right? Like, just play at it. It's just, you know, selling for me isn't like scary or it's not a negative thing. It's an opportunity for you to really help somebody else get a result that they want, right? Because I'd imagine for all of you on the call, you're all wanting to help somebody else, to make somebody's life better, to, you know, enhance their business, to improve the bottom line. We're all here to help somebody else. So, you know, when you come at it with that mindset, you know, it's fun. It's fun to see, like, yeah, I got a deal today. You know, somebody liked what we were doing. Somebody appreciated my art. Somebody liked my photography, like Jason. I think you're back into that, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody liked my business consulting advice, or the fact that I helped them do their books, and they don't have to do that anymore. And you know, they can stop living in the shoebox, right? The other thing is get a mentor. You know, if you're kind of weak in sales and you want to improve, ask somebody that's in sales that you like, that gets results, to be your mentor, so you can talk to them and say, how'd you do it, right? How do you learn? How do you get it done? Start a mastermind team. And also always remember, when you're facing rejection or negativity, always remember, some will, some won't, so what, who cares next, right? I don't know if you know this, but in the GTA alone, there's over 89,000 businesses. So I guarantee you'll find a client. You know, you just have to call 89,000 businesses. So, you know, also have a sales plan process. What's going to work for you? How do you get a client or a prospect from being maybe interested in what you do to making a purchase? What's the process? Work your process, right? So for those who are on the call tonight, I've been sharing and teaching the 6-step sales process over the past few weeks. And my process that I use starts with research. So one of the things I want to research is I want to really know everything there is to know about my industry, right? How does my industry impact a client for the best? I also want to know what's going on in my client's life, right? What's happening with them? What are their concerns or challenges? So that when I do step 2, start to prospect, connect, talk it up, meet them at networking events, have an information interview, host a trade show booth, and I'm meeting new prospective clients, that I'm talking to them in a way that's connecting to what it is they want and need, right? What's concerning them? Hey, I got an idea for you. You know, sales are down. I got a way that I think can help you bring your sales up. Are you interested? The client for sure will be interested. Why? Because you've done your homework and you're talking to people in a way that matters to them, right? The goal of prospecting for me, never sell on a cold call, number one. Never do a hard sell at a trade show booth. Your goal is to get a meeting with that person or do what we call a discovery session, which means it's an information interview where you're going to interview the client or prospect about their business, their goals, their hopes, their budgets, their needs, and decide whether or not you and the client are a fit to work together. Do you have the products and services that they need? And do they have the budgets and the need for your products and services? If there's a match there, then you work on a presentation and a proposal or a quote. You go back in to the client's office and you deliver that in person. You might have to overcome objections there, and you might have to ask some more questions of the client in that situation to get clarity and buy-in, and then you might have to negotiate and then ask for the business. And then step 5 is do the work, right? And check in once in a while. How are we doing? Do you like the work? Is there any way we can improve this, right? And then nurture the relationship, follow up. So that's a sales process that I use. And once I cycle through, I go back. It's like your shampoo, you know, rinse, lather, and repeat. So what I'd like you to do, we've been talking about prospecting and cold calls. I want you to work for a few minutes on writing what you would say if you were to call a client for the very first time. So I've kind of cookie cuttered it here for you people. Basically you state who you are, where you're from, what you do or sell in simple terms, and then share 1 to 2 benefits of your product and service, and then how your customer might benefit from that, and then ask a question to see if they're open to meet or move forward. Okay? So take a minute to work on this. Here's how it would sound, okay? I'll give you an example. So I'm going to pretend to be a home stager. So, hi Bob, and Bob's a real estate agent, okay? I'm David, and I own a wonderful, very creative home staging company. And I don't know if you know, but homes that are staged in this economy are getting 9% more on the resale value of the house, and they're selling a lot faster. If that's a result that you'd like for your real estate practice, I'd love to meet you next Tuesday at 2 to show you our portfolio and see how we can help you get those kind of results for your real estate practice. Everybody hear that? So you're asking for a meeting, you're giving them a decisive time and date, because then they might say, well, Tuesday at 2 doesn't work, how about Wednesday at 3? And then you're offering a benefit that's so like amazing that they'd be crazy to say no. So take a moment to work on this, all right? And I want to see you write, people. Like, I want to see some action here. I want to see these written out. You can even unmute yourself. So another minute on this. This is what you'd say to somebody on the phone, okay, if you're calling them up. You want to keep it to 10 seconds. Those are some rule of thumbs. You don't want to ask somebody, hey, how are you? Do you have time to speak? Because they're going to tell you no. You just want to do this opening statement, and then they'll say, yeah, come and see me, or no. And when you hear the no, then you want to ask permission then. You have a few minutes so I can ask you a few questions about that no, right? You want to probe the no. And what that call now becomes is it's also an opportunity to get to know the client a little bit more and do a little bit of market research, right? Just to see where they're at in the buying process. You know, because the truth of the matter is they just might not be in the market for what you have. So that's cool. Anybody want to share? I've unmuted a couple of you. Any shares? Anybody written anything down? No? Okay, I'm going to move forward then, just for the sake of time. So there's a little 9-second rule in sales and in business these days. And there's a book, another book I recommend. So you've got the 5-second rule, but you also have this book called Fascinate, how to, you know, use mystique and power and prestige and in order to fascinate your customers. So it's written by a woman by the name of Sally Hogshead, and she teaches this 9-second rule. And it's how to instantly persuade and captivate in a world with the attention span of a goldfish, which is 9 seconds. This is pretty scary, right? The average human being that you're talking to has an attention span of 9 seconds. And that's just because it's a busy, wired world that we live in, right? I mean, just look at, you know, if you ever take a public transit into work or something, you know, everybody's on their cell phones, they're texting, they're not focused, right? So according to Sally Hogshead, she says the world's not changed by people who sort of care. So one of the things you have to do in business is stand out a little bit, right? Be bold, be proud. In a competitive environment, the most fascinating option wins. She says stand out or don't bother. You can be comfortable or outstanding, but not both. What do you think of all these? Forget what your business card says. You're an entrepreneur. Live in verbs, action words, right? Passion is the ultimate way to add value to your clients, right? Be passionate. Give 110% and expect nothing back, right? And if you're not eliciting a negative response from someone, you're probably not fascinating to anyone. So sometimes you have to kind of rock the boat a little bit. I mean, look at, I don't know if you see the show, I think it's on the Business News Network here in Canada, and it's called The Disruptors, right? And it's about business owners that are disrupting sort of current services, current technologies, right? Like Uber is a disruptive service, right? Talk to any taxi driver and say, well, what do you think of Uber? You know, you might get a punch in the mouth, but that'll tell you they don't like it, right? But what Uber has done is, man, have they ever changed the game, right? You know, I don't know people that order taxis anymore. They call Uber, they wait, you know, they love it, right? Netflix totally torpedoed Blockbuster Video, right? So you gotta rock the boat a little bit, I think, in this day and age. You gotta stand out a little bit, or you're just gonna sink in with the crowd. Okay, so you just that's a book worth getting. Study some of her workers. Her name is Sally Hogshead. She's got a number of great videos, learning videos, and instructional videos on YouTube that I think, you know, if you took time after tonight to review, I think you'd really like it. So you got to get ready to sell. You got to be in the mindset. So first of all, expect to be told no to. Expect rejection. It's part of the game. It's part of sales. It just, you know, it's not personal, right? So expect to be told no to, but play for a yes. No means I don't know. So when your client says no, it just means they don't know enough about you in order to make a buying decision. Be prepared. Practice that script you just worked on. Practice it so well that it just flows off your tongue and it comes naturally. Practice it on your accountability buddy or a partner. Know who you're going to call on. Make a contact list of your ideal client profile, right? Know who you want to approach and go after. Also, call on those you know first. Talk to your family and friends, not to do business with them, but to ask for referrals. And call on the kinds of businesses and industries that you want to do business with. Maybe you want to become an expert accountant in the packaged goods industry. Maybe you want to do computer technology for the healthcare industry. So focus on industries or segments of in the population or industrial segments that you have a knowledge of, perhaps, and a relationship with, and where you can really stand out because you understand not only your business, but how that industry works and how your business, product, service can help that people in that industry, right? Does that make sense? I hope so. I hope you guys are getting something from it. It's very quiet. So understand, selling is just a conversation. You're having interesting conversations with people. You want to be fascinating. You want to ask good questions. You want to come across as somebody that's got neat ideas, neat spins on things, a different approach, ways that you can help somebody, educate them, add value to their life, add value to their bottom line. Understand the fascination triggers Sally Hogshead talks about in her book. Are you a power, is power the way you attract customers? Do you command your category? So an example of power might be ram tough, right? Are you more of a prestigious brand? So what's prestigious? Tesla, maybe a Tesla car, right? Man, if you had a Tesla car, it increases your respect. Or Mystique, a perfume company. Do you arouse curiosity? Do you use passion as a trigger to sell? Is that sort of what your company and business is about? Is that how you position yourself in the minds of your customers? Are you attracting with emotion? So who attracts with emotion? Love them or like them, Russell Oliver, I buy your jewelry, attracts with emotion, right? He's a little annoying, but he's definitely passionate. Alarm, create an urgency and need. Who uses alarm? Maybe a tax company, right? H&R Block. Hey, your taxes are due this weekend. And actually they are. Rebellion, change the game, be creative. I think Apple did a really good job at that, right? Every product they launched was like a game changer. And trust. Is your brand about trust, about building loyalty? The banks are really good at building trust. Insurance companies, right? So look at these 7 triggers of fascination and decide, where do you fit in? What do you want to focus on? What do you want to be known for in the marketplace? What do you want your clients to be able to count on you for, right? Really important. So one of the other things I want you to work on is another really good way at, getting clients is, what do we say when we're out networking, right? So I've got a little methodology I like to teach. It's called, it's a cool way to have a good conversation with somebody. And it's a great way to introduce yourself at a networking event. Because you're going to stand up and you're going to go, do you know when? So you're going to state a problem that your clients have. And then you're going to say, well, what we do is, and you're going to state how you solve it. So I got an example. I was just driving through Tim Hortons the other day, and I don't know about you, when I get my coffee at Tim Hortons in the morning, it takes forever at the drive-through, right? So do you know when it comes time to buy coffee at a drive-through and the time it takes to do that? Well, what we do is at our coffee store is we come right to your car door, we'll take your order, and then we'll personally deliver your coffee right to your car, right? So that's an example of a great way to create your elevator pitch. So do you know when? State a problem that your ideal client has, and then how do you solve it? What we do is. So use that methodology. I guarantee when you start going to networking events using this, you're going to stand out. You're going to be fascinating. People are going to be, whoa, I want to hear more, right? And the right client at that networking event that has that problem, that wants that solution, is going to come up to you and talk to you after. Guaranteed. It's a promise. So here's your homework. Your homework is practice these, right? There's the old joke. I don't know if you guys heard this joke, but I was in New York. I asked the cab driver, "Hi, how do I get to Carnegie Hall?" And he said, "Practice, practice, practice." And I'm not hearing any groans there, but anyway. So yeah, that's a cool little joke. The old practice joke. Okay, I'm going to do one other piece tonight, and we'll be finished in about 10 minutes, all right? Are you all okay to hang in?
Yep.
All right, good stuff. Thanks. This is part 2 of tonight, Selling for Success. I've got about 6 minutes to 8, so we're good for time. So we talked about the sales process, the 6-step sales process. Really follow this. Write it down, copy it, research, know your market, know your industry. Why? Because by knowing your industry, by knowing your clients, you can have really compelling conversations, right? If I know a client has a certain issue or problem, and I call them or I speak to them or I meet them at a networking event or a business conference, and we have a conversation, and I'll say, client, I was just reading up on companies in the high-tech sector, and they're having these kind of issues and problems. Is that true for you? Because if it is, I might have some ideas and solutions that might help you through that, right? How do you think your client's going to, or prospect is going to react when they hear you talking in that manner? Their ears are going to be like, yeah, tell me more, right? Let's meet. And that's how research can play out in a very positive, very compelling way to allow you to get new clients. So then the next thing is you got to be prospecting, connecting, talking it up, meeting people, having information interviews, seeing if there's possibility for you to work with the client, if there's possibility now or down the road. Then you want to, your goal is to book that meeting, to have a conversation and maybe a coffee and understand the client and where they're at and see if you can help them. If you agree that you can, then you want to work on and deliver a quote or a presentation, preferably in person, if it's the first time. Again, you might overcome objections and negotiate a little bit. Hopefully, you'll get the business. You do the work, and you follow up. A lot of clients leave you not because you screwed up, but it's because after they buy, it's goodbye, right? And so you really do want to nurture that relationship because your client is probably your best source of referrals and also repeat business, right? So we were talking before a little bit about social, media and the importance of social selling. I'm going to do a little bit more on that. So cold calling, yeah, you want to do a little bit of that. You don't want to do a ton, but use your social media before making cold calls. Check out, spy a little bit on your prospects. See what they're tweeting about. Read their posts on Facebook. Maybe they're talking about something on Facebook that motivates them or frustrates them. So that if you call your prospect based on your social media activity, you've already been tipped off to what's going on for them, right? If they're frustrated by an experience they had at a retail store, if you own a retail store, you can say, I just saw your post about your bad experience at that shoe store. That's really too bad. I have a shoe store too, and we love your business. Why don't you come by and let us get you into a nice pair of shoes? And I think you'll love our service. Do you see how social media can actually really play a part in your overall prospecting, networking, connecting with your clients? So by addressing your prospect's latest social media activity, you'll be able to respond in a way that's relevant and meaningful to the client, right? So while you're on the call, it's highly likely your prospect is stalling to search your reputation online. So make sure that your profiles are all up to date and looking pretty good, right? That your website looks good, it's current, your LinkedIn and Twitter profile as well. I've got a couple of my really good friends, and I'll tell you their website is like really bad. You know, there's no way around it. So the other thing too with your social media, the average person, salesperson, only makes 2 attempts to reach a prospect. So 80% of sales require 5 follow-up phone calls. So those contacts help the buyer commit to the relationship. So one thing that's going to help, social media is going to help you decrease this number, because again, like I said before, it's going to help to for you to build the trust ahead of time and build the relationships ahead of time, right? So make sure you're active with your Twitter, LinkedIn. 35 to 50% of sales go to the first salesperson who responds to a query. Have you ever noticed some of your friends posting queries like, where do I get an accountant? I need a bookkeeper right away, or I need a web guy right away. If you react and you see those questions coming up in your social media feeds, if you react right away, chances are you probably get the deal, or at least you'll get the appointment to pitch on that deal, right? You also want to make sure that you're connecting to the right people on social media. Make sure that you're involved in groups, and you're commenting on blogs. You're just that your messaging is there in front of the right people. So I'm a really big believer of joining groups. I'm a really big believer of joining chat rooms. I'm a really big believer of getting information out to the market that you want to work with. So a little bit of homework for you this week. I want you to think of your top 3 clients and what you know about them now. I want you to also, so you're going to practice your scripts, and you're going to do a little bit of this, okay? So I want you to do a little bit of homework and research on your clients. And then I also want you to actually call 3 of your best clients and book a planning session with them. I don't know if you're up to that. But this week, call 3 of your best clients and book a planning meeting session to discuss their wants, goals, and budgets, and find out how you can serve your clients even better for the rest of this year, and that's due next week. Okay, a little bit of homework. So let's delve just a little bit deeper. Okay, one of the most important things you can do in selling is also to sell an experience, to make doing business with you memorable. So this is a great quote by Howard Schultz from Starbucks. He says, we're not just selling coffee, we're selling an experience and a relationship. There's an emotional connection is our true value proposition. So how do you get to that emotional connection? How do you make it? One of the things and ways you connect with people when you're communicating to your target market, when you're speaking at an event, when you're in front of customers or prospects, or you're at a trade show, or you're at a conference, is to tell stories, the power of story. So story is everything in marketing. It's one of the hot business topics today, is the power of story. So one thing you want to start to work on is to craft your story, your journey, right? Because what's going to happen by sharing your story of how you got to do what you do, what motivated you, what was your why, is going to totally relate to your ideal customer. So I don't know if you guys agree with this, but I find marketing and advertising a little bit like, right? It's like, it's in your face. A couple commercials that I listen to on the radio, they're yelling at me, right? I find advertising kind of a little bit boring. I don't find that very creative. So the way to connect and to cut through some of the clutter is by storytelling. And you think of, like, you know, your ancestors. We used to sit around in the village in the fire, and we tell stories, and that's how we learn. That's how we share it. That's how we grew as a community. So when you use stories in your marketing messaging or your sales tactics, what you're doing is you're going to become way more memorable, way more understood, and your clients are going to get you, right? Your prospects are going to get you. So this is Gary Vaynerchuk, who I really like. He wrote a book called the Crush It, about his wine business and the thank you economy. And he says, we're all using social networks as a distribution instead of native platforms to actually tell stories. And he's really big. He's a pretty amazing marketing guru, and he's really big on the power of storytelling. There he is there. We'll be another couple minutes for those still on the call. So chances are you're not the only one offering a solution to the problem. You probably got a lot of competition. So the thing that's going to separate you from your competitors is you. And the other thing that's going to separate you is telling your story, because what it does, it accomplishes a couple of things. First of all, you get to communicate the why you do what you do. That's number one. Number two, it establishes credibility. So it's not dependent on you being better, faster, cheaper than your competition. And it builds trust that you can help solve the problem your customer is facing. Because if you've experienced the problem and you've solved the problem for yourself, who do you think your clients are going to trust? Somebody like you who's, hey, I've lived it, I've gone through it, and I've solved it, and here's how you do it. So it really does build trust. So the power of story, get to work on your story and start telling your story to your customers, to engage them, to make the communication flow more meaningful. So use the power of story. You can use it on your website. You can use it in your social media messaging, right? So use the power of story to really connect with your customer. I think I'm going to stop there. I'll take up the rest. We're going to talk a little bit about niche marketing and identifying your markets, but I think we've gone on a little too long. I think I'm going to stop the flow, but what I do want you to do is work on your story here before we go. I've got 5 after. So how do we work on our story? Well, there's a few questions I'm going to ask you to answer, and here goes. How did you get into your business? Why did you get into it? What do you love most about it? What is the challenge your customers face, and how do you help them get past that challenge? Who do you love to work with as far as your client goes? And describe an ideal day in your business. If you can just take a moment, we're going to go to about quarter after. So if you can take a moment just to answer these questions, and then I'll switch slides, and then we're going to add to the story, right? So this, when you can answer this and you can talk like this with your clients, you're going to come across in a much more compelling way that will really intrigue people and definitely get you the attention you want in order to attract business your way. Take a few minutes just to work on this. You can just write the questions down and work on this later too, right? Another moment on this. I'm just going to switch slides, so I'll take another 30 seconds on this. I'm going to keep you moving. I'm just going to switch slides. I want you to work on the next one. Can you recall an ultimate success moment with a client? What happened? How did you help that client? What motivated you to do what you do today? Was there a pivotal moment that helped you do what you do in your business? If so, what was it? What happened? And I'll give you an example. I had a client that came into our center. I work with the City of Toronto. I run a youth entrepreneur program. This guy came in to apply, and he just he looked funny. He was acting funny. He was very impulsive. He kept interrupting, kept talking out. And it's like, yeah, I don't want to go near that guy, right? I don't want him in my program, Even though it was a government program, I just didn't want him in my program. Anyway, I kind of lost touch with him. He calls me again early this year, and he sounded different this time. And I thought, I'm going to give him a second chance. I'm going to be more patient with him and, seek to find out more about him. And then what he wants to do is he wants to grow green sprout type natural sprouts and vegetables to sell to the restaurant industry. And he's a young man. He's from Pakistan originally, and he's got a big background in farming since he was a kid. And he wants to have a little plot of land and sell these nutritious herbs and veggies to the restaurant industry, and he really needs help. So I gave him that time and gave him that second chance, and the miracle is this guy's okay, and he's really committed to this. He's really hungry. He just needs to get a break. So to me, that was a pretty pivotal moment, right, in the work I do with the city, and also with the work I do with clients, because by giving him a second chance, I want him now. I'm behind him. I'm his advocate. I want him to get into my program now, which is a far cry from where he was at last year. So that's what we mean, by a success moment. When you start sharing those with your clients and your prospects, it's going to totally differentiate you from your competitors. People are going to want a piece of that, right? That's why storytelling works in marketing and sales, in your marketing and sales approaches. I'll just end it on the storytelling. Get clear as to what do you do to improve your skill sets. Maybe it's the fact that your company is committed to learning, or you belong to associations and networking groups that, or you give back to the community, right? If so, how? It's like our company doesn't always take. We make a difference in the community. And also, what makes you so lovable? So you can work on those, the next week, and work on your story. I guarantee if you start to use it in a marketing and sales context, you're going to have way more sales success. So some keys to a good story, just to finish off tonight's session. Are you making an emotional connection, right? Are you tugging on somebody's heart? Is your story honest? Is it to the point? Do you have the audience in mind? Does it involve one of those 7 triggers? Remember we talked about Sally Hogshead, passion, mystique, rebellion, right? Prestige. Does it involve one of those triggers? Trust, right? Is it topical? Is it a good overcomes and wins story? Is it sexy? Is it relevant? These are keys to good storytelling. Want proof? Look at your local newspaper. Understand something when you're selling. When you do get rejected, when you hear no, 3% of the population wants what you have at any given time. So that's not a lot of people. When you're talking, cold calling, networking, marketing, selling, doing webinars, doing a talk, and if you got 3% of the people you talk to wanting to meet with you, you're doing really well. Because 3% of the population wants what you have to sell. 7% of the population are in the market for it. So they might be buying it, what you're selling, in the next few months. So that means 90% of the people you're talking to, marketing to, selling to, chatting it up with on social media, 90% aren't even interested in what you do or what you have to offer or sell. So what does that mean to you? It means you're going to have to stand out. You got to be in terms of selling, that it will take time. Keep at it. Don't stop until you get the lawyer's letter or a cease and desist letter, or you get thrown out the building. Nurture the relationships with your clients. So look at long-term relationships, staying in their world, and just continue to give good content, great ideas, be more fascinating, be more helpful to your market. Yeah, that will wrap up tonight's session. Any questions before we do? I'm at almost quarter after, which is what we said we would go to tonight. Any questions at all? No? All right, quiet group. Next week, we're going to look at the discovery phase, which is step 4 in the sales process, the importance of asking questions. We're going to also look at making good presentations, and we'll tap into how to overcome objections and negotiate. So I hope you guys learned something. If you want the links to the past 2 weeks, if you've missed them, you want to watch them so you'll be right up to date, just email me at dcohen, so that's DCOHEN, at thedavidcohengroup.com. That's it for tonight. I just want to thank you so much for being here and your patience. I hope you learned something, and have a really, really good week. Thank you, everybody. That ends our session.